So let's get Bibles out, of course. Few thoughts I wanted to share today just around, well, I don't know if it's the right theme, but regret is what I was thinking. Regret. And I suppose what I mean by that, or what I'm really looking to there, is how to not have it. Maybe you've experienced a little bit of regret yourself already in anything. Just think about something you did and you maybe wish you hadn't done it. Or some time you spent in some things you really thought later, wow, that was a waste of time. Or...
Is the mic on?
Oh. Now the mic is on. Are you sure you want this? Okay. She wants to keep an eye on me, make sure I'm not going off the rails. So yeah, we're talking about regret or not having regret. I've even seen some posts online where you'd have somebody pulling down their hair in the front, give themselves a haircut, and then they go like this across the front, and then it springs way up, of course, because that's what happens, and they just instant regret, right? So you could probably a hashtag that you can find instant regret and find lots of stuff like that, right? People dove into something instantly. Sometimes the regret doesn't happen until way later. But I was thinking about some of those things, and I guess maybe you look at getting a little bit older, and maybe you look at having kids, real young one and some older ones, that you look at and you go, man, do I regret looking back how I handled this situation or another situation? Could I have done this better? Or why didn't I know how to handle those things like I do now? And so on and so forth. So we do the best we can to get ahead of that learning curve for ourselves. There was a quote from The Office, the American version, the TV show. One of the characters on there said, wouldn't it be great if I'm gonna have to paraphrase, if you knew you knew the best times were happening while you were in them, right? So I guess it's sort of a little bit of how do we look for those things, and capture those things and capitalize and leverage those moments, that time that we're given by the Lord, because He didn't just snatch us right up and have us go be with Him in heaven. We are here, we're still in the wilderness, we're learning, we're figuring things out. So if you look backwards, you'll see that there was things that you didn't figure out and that maybe you wanted to do a little bit better. So it makes sense that we arm ourselves and we realize about those things, and we look at the now and try to leverage what we're experiencing now, for our ultimate growth and for what we're supposed to do at that time. Let's go to Luke chapter 12, parable here. And I guess a lot of today's thoughts and scriptures and stories and parables are going to be about, what best to do with your time. Luke 12, verse 16, and He spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, thou hast made much goods. Thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So we have a fictional story here, just a guy that spent all his time, energy, and effort, making sure he himself was taken care of, that he was provided for, that he was comfortable. And he was fully provided for. He said he was already a rich man. The ground brought forth plentifully. So much more that he had for the future, and then more for the future. And he spent all his time, energy, and effort focused on natural things, natural wealth, survival, basically. And then you learn the next day all of that preparation and all of that stuff that you've built up for yourself is going to be completely useless. And so the idea here is that you would lay up treasure in heaven, where you're going to be able to access it, because on earth it's kind of a waste of time. So the lesson there is what to, we learn here what not to focus on: the natural things, the things that will corrupt, the things that will spoil, the things that will go, but the things that will not matter to us. We sang the song, in a million years. None of that stuff in the barns is going to matter in a million years. We want to be focused on things that we will be able to access in a million years. So let's go to, some of these are short, James 4. Again, some scriptures to make you think about, kind of reflect what to focus on, how short of a time we actually have to capture all of that. So James 4, verse 13. I like how it starts. Go to now. It's almost like, get out of here. Get out of here, you guys. It says, go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city, we will continue there a year, and we will buy, and we will sell, and we will get gain. Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor, that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. So it's just saying here, men, people, natural people, they've got their plans about what they're going to do, how they're going to get through life. And we make these plans for ourselves. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that's my next step, and then that's my third step, and this is how I'm going to, make a better life for myself, and so on. And it's saying here, you don't actually know what's in your future. You have no idea what's planned for you. The good things around the corner that you might not know about, or the trials and tribulations around the corner that you might not know about. And it all happens so quickly. So it's really more about the here and now, and what the Lord wants you to be experiencing, what the Lord wants you to be learning from those things. Again, He's proving us. We have to learn to be less like ourselves, less concerned with ourselves, our natural state, our natural survival, our natural comfort, all of that stuff, and start laying up these treasures that are in heaven, so we don't have that regret. Don't turn there, but we know that in the Ecclesiastes, starts off one of the first verses there. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. And the author there, just realizing after having experienced all he could possibly experience on the earth, because he had the money and the power to get whatever he wanted and do whatever he wanted, he did. And came to the conclusion, it's all pretty empty and it's all pretty useless. And having done everything anybody could ever want to do in the natural sense, he still found himself in a state of regret, in a state of being empty. I remember seeing, information. One time I saw it on a flyer of some sort. I think it was another church flyer, maybe, about some musicians. And a lot of them, I guess in the 60s, 70s, maybe, died at the age of, was it 21, 27? It's really early. And all of them, there are these statements, quotes from them. and these statements from the artists of just how empty they were or depressed they were or whatever. And again, they are people who can get anything they want, anytime they want, do anything that they like, and they find themselves empty. They find themselves in a state of regret. The Lord has shown us very clearly through his word and through our life experience that, who he is and what this is all about. And this is about his love for us. Us being able to experience his love for us, then our love for him, then our love for everyone else as we pass that around, and just be like him. And that is where joy is coming from. Not about, protecting yourself, storing up for yourself, making sure you're okay. You can do all that. You can get to a point where you can access anything you want and be able to do anything that you want to do. If you're not being like the Lord, if you're not using that example, if you're not pleasing the Lord, if you're not going to have any of that treasure stored up in heaven because all of your focus was on earth, then you will be in a state of regret. Let's go to... Did I have you turn to Matthew 7? No. Oh. It's just short, Matthew 7. Just to consider. I mean, we know we want to be with the Lord. We know we want to stay treasure in heaven. We know about we only have a short time. We know these things. So I guess what I'm bringing out scriptures to really make you, I guess, dive into that mentally, because we have a lot of battles. Our trials and tribulations on this earth go on between our ears. They go on in our head. Sometimes we get swept away in the day-to-day of how to be, right? And we approach it from a natural standpoint as we would, because we're humans. And we get caught up in conversations at home, conversations at work, and maybe we get really zoned in on a problem at work, and we think, get caught up in the stress of it and the anxiety of it, but it's just work, right? It's just if we get some perspective, if we can win the battle going on in our minds to think as Christ thinks, or to be as to behave as God wants us to behave. So in Matthew 7, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. So he's saying people will think that I'm their Lord, but there's people who are not doing my will, so it's not going to work out. Verse 22, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? So spirit-filled people still losing the battle here. And he will profess unto them, I never knew you, depart from me, ye that work iniquity. So you didn't behave like I wanted you to behave. You didn't love like I wanted you to love. You didn't, you did a few things. You were born again. You prophesied. You did a lot of good things. But we're not looking for an 80% on our test grade or 90%. We need to always be knowing that in our current state, in our natural state, we don't rest on our laurels. We don't put up our feet. We always are improving. Always are improving. So if you think you've done enough, you haven't. But he's saying here, there's going to be more that's involved. It's not just you prophesied a couple times and you prayed for people and you've seen things happen, through miracles happen. It's not just that. Those are all great things, but you have to put on the mind of Christ as well to win the battle that's going on between your ears. Just seeing where I want to go. I kind of have my scriptures all. I don't know if they'll make a complete story from beginning to end. So in Matthew 25, you can turn there. I'm not sure I'm going to read through the whole thing, but in Matthew 25, there's this story of the talents. Story of the talents that were, it's a parable. And talents is like money, and it was handed to 3 different servants. And we want to hear, in the end, we want to hear, well done. Now the first one got 5 talents, second one got 2 talents, the third one got 1 talent. The one with 5, they went ahead and invested it. They worked it. They put it to use. The one with 2 did the same thing. They both made more money than they started with. Different amounts, of course, but it didn't matter. The point was they used what they were given. They, you could say they risked it. You know, it's a risk sometimes preaching the gospel. It's a risk sometimes to lose friends or family members or position at work or a job or whatever it is. Sometimes it's a risk, but they risked it and they gained the more and it grew. And we're talking about spiritual things. We want to grow in spiritual things. You don't want to just have it and know it and it's kind of in the back of your mind. Yeah, I know how I should be and how I should act and how I should think and how we need to use it just like they needed to use it and put the money to the exchangers. So we want to hear, like he said to the first 2, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. And what we don't want to hear is the one who took the one thing that they were given and out of fear or maybe other feelings as well, decided they weren't going to risk anything. They were just going to keep that one hidden and not do anything with it. But that's not what it's for. So the Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers. Then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. And it goes on to say, take his 1 talent from him and give it to the one that's got 10. And he says, cast ye the unprofitable servant to the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Major regret going on. And it's just from, not having done something bad necessarily, made some huge mistake as far as, took a negative action. They just took no action. They just did nothing. They just kept to themselves. They just kept quiet. They just warmed a seat or whatever it is. And it wasn't what the Lord wanted. The Lord wanted them to take a risk and invest and put it out there and gain the more from it. We know we're going to grow spiritually from these things. We know people hear the gospel in this way, and more people can come. Different kinds of gain there, whether it's personal, spiritual gain, or actually adding to the body. In Philippians it says, wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. We never want to just start, stop trying in the Lord. We never want to say, okay, we're good enough. I go to the meetings at this time. I go to the outreaches at this time. I do this. I do that, and I'm good. I'm done. I'll just keep it at that level. We always need to be increasing and growing, and a lot of that just has to do with our mind changing as well, which is kind of what this is about. In Ephesians 5. In Ephesians 5, verse 14, it says, wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepeth, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. That's really the part I want to bring out there. Redeeming the time because the days are evil. He's telling us to pay attention to these moments of life that just drift by, that we handle a lot of times in a natural way instead of seeing things through spiritual eyes. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. So again, not our own will, but the Lord's will, and we have to look at that and read that and understand that. It says, being not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. So just this attitude and this sort of way to be, thinking about the word of the Lord, and being generally joyful as far as thinking on the things of the Lord. Giving thanks always, it says here, and then submitting yourselves one to another. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5. We never know when that day is going to be that we're completely out of time. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. So just, you're not expecting it, right? For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So, just a thought there, when they say peace and safety. We can't even really tell. We see signs, we see more frequent, disasters, diseases, political upheaval, wars, rumors. We see that. We see signs. But we don't know if it's going to be in a time where it's all over the news and everybody's scared, or a time where nothing's going on and everybody is at peace and fine and happy. Because it could be at any time. The point is to be ready all the time. So we never know. It says, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are the children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of the darkness. Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober, or be ready. Be ready, because you do know that it's coming and you can see the signs. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that are drunken in the night. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, just aware of what's going on, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation. If you wanted to just bring out, how are we this light? How are we being seen? What are people noticing of us, and how are we acting and how are we behaving? Comes from those two things there. This faith as our action, and love, which is also action. So this attitude of having faith in the Lord and his promises, a calmness about those things, love for him, for others, and that's how we go on. For God has not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ. A lot of people in this world want to be on this side of wrath, especially now. That you can just do it on the internet. You don't have to stand in front of someone and risk getting punched in the face or anything. You can just say whatever you want on keyboard. We call them keyboard warriors. You don't have to be a keyboard warrior out there getting vengeance for some cause, or telling we just don't have to worry about those natural things. A lot of people are, but it says you're not appointed for that. You're not out there to correct the world and get it to fall in line. The world's going to pass away. You're not out there to get people who aren't spirit-filled to change their behavior. You're there to obtain salvation. for you to obtain salvation, being born again, of course, your continual growth and changing, that you remain in, that you remain active, that you remain doing these things, that you're helping others do these things. And it takes consistency, it takes effort. Wherefore comfort, it's verse 11, comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do. And we beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you, in the Lord, and admonish you, esteem them very high in love for their work's sake. It says, and be at peace among yourselves. So it's another clue or a piece of how we're supposed to be, and be at peace among ourselves. A lot of times, I mean, I have a lot of regret concerning that right there, looking back going, I wasn't at peace among the brethren with, how I was acting there or what I did there, or with my family members, or whatever it is. So just some clues in here about how to be and how to redeem this time, and how to not have this regret ultimately. And it goes on through verse 14 at the end, said, be patient towards all men. It's another thing to try to be mindful of, because you think, oh, they should know better, or they're doing this on purpose, or they're lazy, or they're this, or they're that, or they're trying to attack me, or just be patient towards all men. See that none render evil for evil. As it said, wrath is not our job. So let's remove it from our thoughts, from our vocabulary, and move through in the way that we were meant to. Or was I? Be patient towards all men. See that none render evil for evil unto any man. Follow that which is good, both among yourselves and to all men. Rejoice evermore, keeping your mind on what is good. There was a list of things, I read it all the time, so I won't read it again, of things to keep your mind focused on and to think about in the Bible. Pray without ceasing, and in everything give thanks. If you can train your mind, to focus on what to be thankful for. And we know what to be thankful for because God has given us everything that we have. God has blessed us tremendously. So we give thanks. We're praying. We're rejoicing. We're patient towards everyone. This is, how to be ready. This is how to be when the Lord comes back. Wants to find us like this. So in Matthew 24. How far am I? Wow, okay. Matthew 24, verse 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's talking about the Lord coming back, and making a comparison here. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it took them by surprise. It shouldn't have, because Noah told everybody, but they ignored it. And so because they ignored it, it just took them by surprise when the floods were coming. And so it's going to be the same, when the Lord comes back now, people are going to be surprised. People are not going to expect it. Verse 40, then shall two be in the field, and one shall be taken and the other left. 2 women shall be grinding in the mill, and one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour the Lord cometh. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would have not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think the Son of Man, you think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant when his Lord when he cometh, shall find so doing. So that stands out in my mind a lot. We often let the natural take over, and we know that we shouldn't, and we go with it anyway, and we just think, well, there'll be time later to maybe fix that situation, or work on myself so I don't do that anymore, or whatever it is. And there might be, but at some point the Lord's coming back, and he wants to find you so doing, as it says, wants to find you working on these things, wants to find you, being a conqueror, being an overcomer, and not resting, and not kicking your feet up and saying, I've grown enough, I've done enough. Okay. Almost done here. Might just mention these. So in the Old Testament, there's the story of Esau and Jacob, and they were brothers, and they were twins, but Esau had come out first, and so he was the firstborn, and he had the birthright to all the inheritance. But as we know, in Hebrews 12 it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So it was too late. We know the story. Esau came out of the woods after hunting, and he was hungry, so he had a natural need. And there was his brother Jacob sitting there. I picture kind of like a little lemonade stand. I don't think they had cardboard, but just like a little pop-up stand, one of those folding tables. It's like, got some stew for sale. And Esau said, you got to give me some of this stew. And Jacob said, okay, I'll give you some stew. The price is your birthright. So everything, that you would get when our parents pass on, the whole estate, everything, you just give me all that and you can have some stew. And he did it. Esau just said he focused on his immediate natural need, which was he was hungry, and didn't care about his birthright. He didn't have regret then, but he had regret later. And it says that he despised his birthright. Just means he didn't prioritize it. He didn't cherish it. He didn't put it first. And so, we have to be very careful in our lives that we are always thinking long term. We're always thinking, the cost of something. We are going to focus on the things that are most important. This being his birthright, and for us being spiritual things. Another story to think about and consider about redeeming the time and focusing on what is needful is the story of Martha. There was Martha and Mary, and I'll just read. It came to pass, and they entered into a certain village. A certain woman named Martha received him into her house. She had a sister named Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about with much serving. She was doing all the natural things, and came to him and said, Lord, does thou not care that my sister left me to serve alone, do all these things by myself? Bid her therefore that she help me. Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful or worried about and troubled about many things. All the stuff that she was doing, all the stuff she was taking care of, all the natural things that needed done, even to be a good testimony, even to be a good host, even to be, they needed done, they should be done, they were good things to do. But he said, but one thing is needful. One thing is needful. And Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her. One thing is needful. So I think there's often situations that we can run into in our lives interactions with people, and I guess I just automatically think of maybe interactions with my children. But you know, get into a conversation and I think, okay, this can go 3 or 4 different ways, you know, I can handle. I could, you know, maybe very clearly show that was not acceptable. Here is a punishment. That is your lesson. I could show that is not acceptable. Here's an example of mercy, you know, and sort of teach them those kinds of things. Or what else? What else do they need? Is the you know, the punishable deed, is that really important, or is there another side of it that is important? What is the thing that is needful? Okay, don't let the natural man take over and go straight for natural things, like Martha was doing, right? Think about what is the one thing that is needful in this situation, in your life, in the moment. What is the thing that is needful? What is the spiritual building up that you can focus on? Other scriptures tell us more to lay up treasure in heaven and not on earth. One thing that would cause a lot of regret, I think it just falls into this category, is whether or not you have made amends with someone, you know, that you're bickering with or fighting with, or maybe just haven't spoken to in a while. This forgiveness that the Lord has, the separation, the division that you would cause by doing that, or by not doing anything at all, I think falls into this category of potential regret. And how to avoid those things would be to really forgive. Not in a way where you hear in the world, oh, I forgive them, but I won't forget. You know, meaning like, oh, I'll pretend like everything is okay and I'll be nice to them to their face, but I will be weary, untrusting, negative, always painting them in a bad light in my mind as far as what they're probably really thinking or whatever. That's not the way. It's to really go back to ground zero with, I love this person. And nothing else outside of that matters. And whatever else happened was a mistake, and it's done, and so on. An example, just as a reminder, Peter came to the Lord and said, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? I was thinking, that's a lot, right? Like maybe 7 times? Wow. Forgive someone 7 times for something? Most people don't. At the most, you might go, oh, 3rd strike, you're out. Should we do it 7 times, Lord? And Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee unto 7 times, but unto 70 times 7. So just, you know, not really trying to put a cap on the number of times. Like you get out your notebook. All right, what the name is that filed under? Hey, Doc. Okay, we're on 32. No, he's probably got more for me, but it's just, you know, the forgiveness is just, it falls into that category. All right, we're about done here. I'm going to skip down to Ephesians 4. Let's go to that one. We'll finish up in Ephesians 4. It tells us a lot about what to focus on, what to think about, how to soak it in and leverage every moment that we've got. Redeem the time. Ephesians 4:15. Speaking the truth in love, already some instruction for us. Speaking the truth in love. You can't separate the two. You can't have love and lies. Yeah, I love you. No, you're doing fine. Everything's going perfectly. You don't have to change a thing. When it's not true, is not love. Speaking the truth in love. May grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. So we have a goal, we have an example to grow and to be like Christ on this path, right? Truth, love, growth, to reach what it's like to reach what Christ was like. We're not going to get there, but we're going to keep trying. All right, verse 16. From whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, making increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. Again, more instruction there. This growth, increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. So that's how the growth happens. Verse 17, this I say therefore, and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind. We mentioned earlier about vanity. Solomon found that everything natural in this world that you could want to go and entertain yourself with, the whatever lusts and ambitions you possibly have in this world, vanity. And that's what the people of this world go after. It's what they try to fill that void with. Don't walk as they do, as the Gentiles do, in that vanity, the vanity of their mind, in the way that they're thinking, in the way that they have to, try to appease themselves in the moment. This is why a lot of people get into all kinds of addictions, trying to make themselves feel something that is good. Or that just gets them through and by, so they don't have to think, because they get to this point and they start to realize there's no point to anything without the love of God, without living forever with Him and being like Him, and His love for us that started it off. If it's just you and your own survival and beg, steal, and borrow and get yours and put your feet up and hide in a hole somewhere, what's the point? What's the point without relationship? And that all stems from God's relationship with us. Verse 26, just to skip down a little bit. Be ye angry and sin not. Another one that I try to keep in mind. You've got your natural reaction, anger, fear, whatever, any of it. And sin not. That's your natural reaction. Now bring it into captivity so you don't have regret later on. Be ye angry and sin not. Don't do anything. You're going to be angry. Don't act on it. Let not the sun go down on your wrath. Reconciliation, forgiveness, those things that we were talking about. Do it quickly. Reconcile with people quickly. Forgive quickly. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it is more painful before it's better, but do that quickly. The Lord is advising here. This again, how to avoid regret down the track. And if you don't do it quickly, especially if it wasn't a big deal, especially if it was not a big deal, and you don't do it quickly, you probably won't do it. Because the magnitude of what you thought, it's not a big deal, after the moment has passed, seems more weird that you would even say anything. And then time goes on, and then it's more weird that you would say anything. So the idea is to not let those things go, and they'll build up in your mind, but to act on those things quickly and reconcile. Okay, be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. That's anything. We know what is corrupt. We know what is damaging coming out of our mouth. You could say the right thing in the wrong way. You could say nothing and it still be more damaging. You can do a lot. We know what we're communicating by saying or not saying, the tone, by everything else, right? Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying. We're here with each other, in our families or in the Lord, or even out in the world, we want to make sure our communication with everybody is edifying, is good, is building up, is some sort of help to them. Not lies, but good. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness, no, not bitter with anyone, wrath, you don't need to teach anybody any lessons or anything, and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with malice. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. So just recap on that part. So that's it. Just some thoughts here today about regret, how to make sure you have less of it, and you redeem the time, and you live in the moment, and battle against some of those natural thoughts that steal that time away from us, that force us into that period of regret. We have the power to overcome it, and the power to be in this state of joy, of calmness, peace that the Lord brings, that only the Lord can bring. So I'll leave it there.